can you please clap once?
Yes!
شرب العرا لعب الورا خيل السبع صيد الحمام شرب العرا لعب الورا خيل السبع صيد الحمام رسم البرود.
We are finally with Yasmine Hamdan today. It's a great pleasure to have her.
Thank you.
One of our favorite singer from the global sound. We call it actually in our blog, we call it Don't Call It World because we hate this
Yeah, me too. It's
world
a bit,
music.
it's a racist.
Kind of.
It's kind of discrimination.
Yes,
Like, what's the world?
Yes.
Why am I the world for you? And I was like, whoa.
Yes, you got me.
Yeah.
So this is, we call it underground, and it's got, because of your background, it's kind of global stuff you're doing, based on the, yes, I don't know if you like this, when I say it from the Middle East, but it is more than Middle East. This is.
I mean, I sing in Arabic, so it's good to, at least this is the one thing I'm sure about, is that I'm singing in Arabic. Other than that, the style of music and all the influences and all the different textures and the different instruments, etc. This comes like an experiment with the Arabic. And I experiment actually with both music and singing and the lyrics. So Arabic Arabic music has a lot of codes, and normally you have to follow those codes so that the words would work well and the melody would work well. I don't follow all of that. I just take the essential, which is like the way you can pronounce etc. And I write in different dialects, so I have the possibility to create different moods and different rhythms. So every dialect has its own rhythm, humor, etc. So for me, I take some elements from Arabic music that I love or that I want to keep and work with, and I bring in a lot of other influences, and I invite musicians, and it's a balance between the head and the heart. So yeah, I have fun. I try to have fun and experiment.
Very well explained.
Thank you.
This is what I get when I listen to your music, and you mentioned that you take a lot of kind of dialects and from different Arabic spaces. This is because actually you moved in a lot of Arabic spaces, and you started with Beirut. This is the place you were born.
I was born in Beirut, but I was born in the middle of civil war. And my father is an engineer, so he used to build bridges in the desert and in the middle of nowhere. So because it was war, and eventually as a baby I kind of survived a very difficult bombing, etc. My mother decided that I had to leave. And so she took me and went to live with my father in the desert. So my first 2-3 years were in the desert. And I remember very brightly, I have a lot of really interesting memories. After that, we went back to Beirut, and then we had another moments of problems and war, and we went to Abu Dhabi, and then we went to Greece, and then we went to Kuwait, and then Saddam Hussein invaded, and then I had to leave again, so it's kind of my karma every time I go somewhere. And I live now in Paris, and when the problems, like the terrorist problems, all the problems started to happen, I really had a nervous breakdown. I was like, no.
Not again.
I escaped all of that, and it's following me everywhere I go, but I got over this feeling. Of course, aside from me being completely destroyed from what happened on a human level, I was on my own level. I was like, no, I don't want this to follow me everywhere I go. But the good thing is when you live this, you have another sensibility to the world, and you also see things that makes you, I think, more grounded, and that makes you realize also a lot of things about life and about death and about humans somehow. Because when you come from a place where you had war, and I guess here you have something, you know, that resembles, you have a lot of questions, unanswered questions.
Yes.
So each one in its own way, in his own or her own way, tried to find answers. My way was to, you know, I'm a post-war, you know, generation.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of questions, but nobody to ask them to, and no one to answer me. And, you know, it's kind of a bit, you know, it's a dysfunctional place,
Yes.
Lebanon. Lebanon is great, but dysfunctional. So for me, it was a salvation to be able to do music, because aside from all the pleasure I got, and aside from me becoming what I wanted to be, and, you know, being free and doing my own choices, I also found some answers about humanity, or something that that I was eager to, you know, and that in the artists I loved, and in the people I meet, and, you know, so yeah, it's I'm very lucky.
Coming back to your music and mix it up with your background right now, it is like, for me, like a woman from the post-war, I come from Iran, I was born there, like your colleague, Sevdaliza, you have the concert. The thing is, I don't speak Arabic, but I feel there's something that in your song Beirut, for example, I listened to it and I was like, oh my god, I have to cry. It was like I felt what you are trying to say about your roots and the things you remember of, the stories were told to you, or the stories of your roots. So this is what I think is like of a power you got, and maybe it is something you reach so many people outside of the Arabic speaking, because I don't speak Arabic, so. And this is very interesting for me. Coming to the point that why you are in Berlin today, and tomorrow you're having a concert with Sevdaliza, as I mentioned, your colleague, and and is it a festival or a concert?
It's just an idea that my manager, who's a very, very big and interesting promoter here, and very sharp person. He came up with the idea of doing something, because we performed in Berlin in May, and we wanted to come back, and he had, you know, he was in touch with Sevdaliza, and he got the idea of this, the future is female. And this is, I loved it, and I think she did too, because we hadn't met yet then, and so yeah, it's just first we decided to do one night. It was very fast sold out, so we decided to do another night.
Yes.
So I love this place. It actually, Berghain.
Yes.
It actually reminds me Beirut. Like if you are you know this. Yeah, it's like it looks like you're in a, not Banker because it's not, but like almost walking in the streets of Beirut. It just needs the, you know, maybe a couple of trees and some bullets. Then you're there. But after the Civil War, now it has changed a little bit. But you can find there's a vibe,
the history,
and in Beirut and in Berlin there are some similar vibes. I think Berlin is changing a lot because it's becoming more gentrified, I guess. But you have a lot of very, very interesting artists and incredible dynamic. That you find very little in other places, you know. There's something here very edgy and there's something also here where I don't know now, but at least I feel that people can live in the marge still, and can still like have like a parallel lives and not be in the center of conform and you know. So I
But
like
this
it.
changes. I have to show that my experience is this is really in the middle, in the center of Berlin. When you go outside, this
Yeah,
changes so
I know,
quickly.
I know.
So this is
Of course.
a little microcosmos in the middle of Berlin, where the historic places are, and this is very interesting. I feel the energy of, like you say,
Yeah.
Berghain, where the places are, and there are these.
There's like a memory. You feel
Yes.
that this place has a memory.
Yes, and when you go outside and you get your suburban moves,
Yeah, it's
like
different.
every
It's
city
everywhere
after,
like
yes,
this.
Yes,
But to go back to the idea of singing in Arabic and touching people,
yeah,
I think that for me at least, I've always like in my head and heart and my beliefs, I truly believe that when you can communicate an emotion, then you don't need words. You kind of trigger in the person in front of you something sensual or something like in your childhood, something connected to your imagination, or even this person has the freedom to project whatever you just said something about Beirut. The song is not about that, but you projected something related to your own story. So for me, that's the most important. And I never listen to music, to the lyrics normally, unless it's like Leonard Cohen, and his lyrics are so much about his everything, like it's doors. You open a door and you smile, and then there's another door, and he's he does massage for you with his words, and it's different. But I normally don't, because the words for me put me in a box, or and so if I go and I fly with the music and with the emotion and with the melody, etc., it's more sensual for me. I feel it much more. So that's how I live music, and that's how I would like to communicate my music. So I don't think words, language is a checkpoint. I think it's more like eventually a bridge.
Yes, this is what you do.
Yeah.
This is not that common. I think, especially in this music scene, everyone is going for going international means singing in English.
Yeah.
And you don't. So you do what you do, and you are successful in what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I love singing in English, but I cannot commit to it. I cannot pretend that it's me sincerely, unless the desire becomes really strong and I want to do something very special and I know why. I don't feel the urge to do it. I could sing in a lot of languages eventually. I'm like a parrot. I can.
It's good. Sometimes when I drink a lot, then I can speak a lot of languages.
Yeah, you do. Whoa.
But coming back to the future of female, the future is female. This was a quote by Sally Miller Gerhardt, science author of sci-fi author, woman, and she said the future, if there is one, is female. Yeah. So I think this is broke down.
She's right.
Yes, but this is broke down in the pop culture. Everyone is using right now, the future is female. Bam.
I don't know, I'm not very much into like trend or cultures, etc. I actually try to resist fashions. So I don't know, but what I strongly believe that if I take the Middle East, there will never be a revolution. What we call the Arab Spring. I don't like this term because it's media term. But for me, it doesn't mean, it did create change, but it will never succeed into creating real change unless women are 100% actively equal and in it, and there's a revolution, gender revolution and sexual revolution. So for me, that's where it should start. If there is any hope for the Middle East to survive, because we're having a lot of troubles, unfortunately, and then it should start there, with women just breaking a lot of rules, and also with the law reorganizing and the whole society getting reorganized around this equality, then we can talk. So, and the Middle East, women kind of rule the show, even though sometimes they're in the front and sometimes they're in the shadow. But if tomorrow women, I don't know, do a strike, or it will be deep shit. Everything will stop. And so they're very active. They're very present. There's something, but they are not. Eventually, we're still not. Equally and well represented in many ways. In Lebanon, there are a lot of discriminative laws, and they're just there,
Yes.
But mentalities are changing. So I'm hoping, and hopefully, and you have a lot of also people active, societies, groups of people getting reorganized, etc., activists and fighting this. So things are changing, hopefully.
Yes, and this is what you say for the Middle East, meaning of female is the future is female.
Yes, that's totally right.
Yes, this means for us, or for the Middle East, means coming to that point that we got equal rights by the law, by the politics, in every spaces we go out. We need these equalities, and this is something was pushed by the Western civilization somehow. This claim, and I wanted to ask you, how far is this a romantic view, maybe from the Western European point of view, or is that kind of being pragmatic? If you know what I mean, so be female.
About like the romantic view about what?
About the female is coming more and more in front and taking the part more and more. The main roles. Like,
look, I think it's a very complex subject. If you want to take it philosophically, if you study, if you go back even to the words and to how we were always controlled. If you enter today a museum, you see maybe 5% or 3% of women artists, if you have this percentage, the rest is male. We were always dominated, always. And I'm not talking about something cliche, this is a reality. And eventually there are some changes, and it's good that people realize that it's important. What is important is that it doesn't become only a fashion and only something on the social network that becomes like a trend, like a fame, like something, this or that, like an eccentric no, it needs to get really well organized. And I think this is happening in a lot of places, in a lot of countries. I know that in Germany, a lot of decisions about creating more opportunities for women and more equality, etc. This is on the table, and that's great. The problem with that is, if you look in history and if you look in a lot of places, when there is a crisis, when there is instabilities, when there are problems and insecurities, I don't know how, but we become a problem. You and me, and eventually, like gender, like homosexuals, etc. We are all considered as a minority, and we become a problem. And then we become, they want to control us. Our rights or are on the table and negotiated, and that's a problem, and that is relevant, and that means that we have a crisis. There is a crisis. And a crisis, it needs time to be solved, and it needs history, and needs mistakes, and needs, So in the Middle East, if you look at now, I am shocked in so many ways. I was not growing up with in an environment where you had, in some places, so much conservatism or so much isolation, etc. But if you read it in history, we have a lot of deceptions in this region. We had a lot of wars. We had a lot of dramas. We had a lot of dictators. We didn't know how to also there's something about us and our culture that didn't know how to overcome some things,
Yes.
and now it's becoming more and more difficult. But it's also, the good side is it's never black and white. You also have this other
Yes.
energy and other people
Right.
getting organized.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that this people getting organized, etc. At some point, the balance will go like this. But we didn't have that many veiled women. We didn't have religion in our environment really, and it came out of, I think, a lot of things happened. You have, it's a long story. Some countries financed this propaganda, religious propaganda, this vision of religious propaganda, and also you have a lot of deceptions in this part of the world that made people, it's like the right wing, people.
Yes.
Sometimes they go there because they're desperate, they don't know what to think, and they, you make the wrong choice. So
People got fears. This is kind of everyone feeling like, am I got enough food for me? Can I go to the doctor? And if you live like a lot of wars coming and coming over, dictators came, make some promises, taking this fears and making politics with it.
Of course.
This
That's
is what I see in the Middle
they
East.
suck your blood.
Very, very focused on the fears, building up fears.
Of course.
And what I know about Iran is there is one hand there is the politic religion, and on the other hand there are the people got their belief. They believe in something and they hold on it, but it is not really in common with that what the state is creating.
Well, the problem is when religion becomes an authority, and when religion becomes something political and something that governs your life, and
like a dogma.
Then it becomes a dogma, and then it becomes a very dangerous thing. And in all religions, when it becomes like that, religion is a spiritual thing. It's an intimate thing. It shouldn't be instrumented in a way that it's political and for political reasons and for money reasons and for ruling reasons and for power reasons. And that is the problem with religion, and that is why religion has made so many dead. If you think about the biggest, like the biggest amount of killed people, or the wars related to religions made the maximum amount of dead.
Not cigarettes.
Humans.
Only
not cigarettes and not pollution.
Yes.
So it's religion.
This is religion, yes. Yeah. This is what it is. And I think this is a point about you're told something that you don't know what we didn't get over, and we're living in wars and again wars and crisis, and this is one point when we come to the woman, the role of woman, which is in Islam kind of, you have to interpret it. And this is what you say, a very private thing of everyone.
Of course.
Of every family, it is a private thing.
Of course.
And
but the problem is it started a long time ago. You had like some hairy men coming and saying, this is what Muhammad wanted. And this is what you should do. And then you have people following these schools, and then you have people getting fucked up with their heads and their hearts, and just not being able to be really spiritual. Actually, it's not about but Islam is something. But in general, religion are like that. But Islam in particular, I think that men are. It's like it's kind of like a place where like women is really created as a problem, and it's been instrumentalized. But it's not in all Islam. It's in a certain interpretation of Islam, and it's more related to the Wahhabism and more related to the to the Saudi Arabia version or vision of Islam. And this is what they put a lot of money to kind of like impose this vision, because you have a lot of different interpretations.
Yes, of course.
But when you have more money and you're louder, etc., you get more exposed.
This is about power. You're loud, you got the power,
yeah,
and you're the one who make the rules then. and
Yeah.
everyone is following. And the power, you get your power when you go there and kill the people. This is what the legitimation came from, you know, sitting there and saying this is good, this is not good, so you have
This is haram, this is halal.
Yes.
What?
Black and white. So
Yeah.
and this is the problem what we got. Maybe they are not that big, this group, but they are so loud that everyone on the globe, on the whole earth, is believing that this is Islam. When we talk in Europe about the Islam, I'm gonna cry because I know my grandma. She's believing in Islam, and she is not that kind of go out and I will kill anyone who's not believing in Islam. She is fine with everyone, and she would like to live, and she is interested in other cultures.
Of course. It's, you know, I think a lot of people see the difference, but some people don't, and it's a pity, because also the media has a certain responsibility. And because, you know, we're kind of making propaganda for those people, because every time we open, it's a stunt, it's sensational. So every time we open the TV, we talk about them. And so if there are 10 people creating a mess, and if Trump or I don't know who tweets like, you know, he's talking, and then he's making them a favor, he's giving them like a lot of, you know, promotion, marketing, you know. But let's hope for the best. But yeah, of course, that humanity is so difficult. Like, look, in yourself, when you don't like something in yourself, it takes you years to change it. We're talking about millions of people trying to live together. And so it's difficult. Anyway, it's a nightmare.
Maybe this is life. Maybe
this is life. Of course,
maybe this is life, and we have to get over it and do the best. And you're that's really doing the best.
Thank you.
Because your music is getting over all that bullshit out there.
Thank you.
And doing the real, going out and speaking to a lot of people without being confirmed. This is the power which has everyone, I think, go inside and see. But it is really difficult. This is what makes you so special, because not everyone can do this.
Well, you know, I really believe that you can converse and you can talk with the person if you are in a way sincere, and if there's something in the way you express it that you can get the person in front of you sensitive, even if this person doesn't understand Arabic, doesn't understand exactly, but they can start see the nuance of where we come from. Because my main drive when I started doing music and singing in Arabic was this extremely rich culture where I come from, that has all those nuances, that has all those amazing women, that has all those amazing artists that I grew up on and that my grandmother grew up on, and that's what's in me, and that's what I would like to, in a way, in my own way and through my work, partially embody, because this is something I truly believe in. I believe in. It's kind of like almost an activist need to say, no, this is not that. This, you know, there's something else here that is on a human level, that is very close to you and to your grandma, and that where we can all come together and just, you know, not take into consideration the borders and the checkpoints. And I've always hated borders and I've always hated checkpoints. And, you know, I just became French, but before having my French passport, I had a Lebanese passport. And I can tell you that it's a nightmare to have Lebanon is already much better than other countries, but it's a nightmare. And I know what a checkpoint is, and I know what a border is, and I know how they exclude you, and I know how you have to prove that you know, you can cross this border and go to the civilized world, and what you need to prove and what you need to do. And I spent so much energy and time and money actually doing this. And so for me, I want to live in a freer world.
This is a privilege. Yeah. this is a privilege we got with this passport.
Of course.
I got the German one, and then this is what I felt like here too. Every time, just like, oh my God, there's a border. And you get in that row that you, first of all, you get suspected. You're suspected. So there is something about you not okay. So
of course we are women, so we're luckier. Maybe Iran is worse. But maybe Iran is worse than Lebanon. I'm not sure, depending where.
This is depending where, but I got both passports, and with the German passports, they are just like very nice to me. But this is the way. It's just a piece of paper, but
I know.
Okay.
Humanity is fucked up.
Yes,
I can tell you.
Yes, but I hope, like you say, there's a change. There's a lot of change, and in the Middle East, this is much important for me. Is that point in the Middle East, because we need peace there to get peace in the other places. This is so.
It's not gonna happen now.
This is not really. I don't think
that's a problem. Maybe in a few years. Let's hope. Hopefully.
Yasmine, thank you for having us. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you for you.
Tonight you're again in the Berghain. The future is female. Go for it.
Great, this venue. I love it. We're having a lot of fun. And tomorrow we're going to Kiev, then Moscow, St. Petersburg, go back to Paris, and then Beirut to have a concert there. So I'm ending the tour in Beirut, which is great. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.